Picture this: roaring engines, leather jackets, tattoos, and the thrill of the open road. For many, biker culture is about freedom, rebellion, and brotherhood. But behind the romanticized image of bikers lies a darker reality, one filled with scandal, controversy, and violence. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on some of the most shocking stories from the world of outlaw biker clubs, including the infamous Hells Angels. By the end of this video, you'll discover how these clubs became entangled in criminal activity and why their reputation continues to raise eyebrows around the world, with their members embracing a lifestyle that defies convention. The Hells Angels, perhaps the most well-known of these groups, have long been synonymous with rebellion. Founded in 1948, the Hells Angels have chapters all over the globe, with thousands of members who proudly display their iconic skull and wings logo. However, for all the talk of brotherhood and freedom, there is another side to these clubs that the public rarely sees. From violent turf wars and drug trafficking to internal power struggles, outlaw biker culture has a long history of scandal and controversy. And while not every biker is involved in illegal activity, the actions of a few have stained the reputation of many. In this video, we'll take a closer look at the dark side of biker culture, unpacking the notorious scandals and controversies that have plagued these clubs and exploring how they continue to impact the perception of biker gangs today. The origins of outlaw biker gangs. To understand the scandals surrounding biker culture, we first need to look at its origins. Outlaw biker clubs emerged after World War II, when many veterans returned home feeling alienated from society. These men, craving camaraderie and adrenaline, formed motorcycle clubs to recapture the thrill they experienced during the war. But from the beginning, some of these clubs rejected mainstream values, choosing instead to operate outside the law. They were labeled outlaw clubs by the American Motorcyclist Association, AMA, after a now legendary incident at a motorcycle rally in Hollister, California in 1947. According to reports, a small group of bikers caused chaos during the event, leading to widespread media coverage that forever linked bikers with violence and lawlessness. The Hells Angels, founded the following year, quickly became the poster boys for this rebellious culture. Though they initially presented themselves as just another motorcycle club, it wasn't long before they were implicated in serious criminal activities, transforming from a loose brotherhood of bikers into one of the world's most infamous organized crime groups. Drug trafficking and organized crime. One of the darkest aspects of outlaw biker culture is its connection to organized crime, especially drug trafficking. In the 1960s and 70s, many outlaw clubs, including the Hells Angels, became heavily involved in the drug trade, particularly the production and distribution of methamphetamine. The Hells Angels quickly earned a reputation for their violent enforcement of drug routes, using intimidation and brutality to control their territory. The club's involvement in drug trafficking exploded in the 1980s as members began operating international smuggling rings. One of the most infamous incidents occurred in 1985, when a series of raids known as Operation Rough Rider led to the arrest of over 130 Hells Angels members across the United States and Canada. Authorities seized large quantities of drugs, including meth, cocaine, and marijuana, along with weapons and cash. Despite these arrests, the Hells Angels and other outlaw clubs have continued their criminal activities, often using their international networks to smuggle drugs across borders. Law enforcement agencies around the world have struggled to curb these operations as biker gangs adapt to changing law enforcement tactics, often using their extensive connections in legitimate businesses as fronts for illegal operations. Internal power struggles and betrayal. Another major source of scandal within outlaw biker culture comes from internal power struggles and betrayal. These clubs, known for their strict hierarchy and loyalty, are not immune to infighting, and when rival factions clash, the results are often violent. Perhaps the most infamous example of this was the internal feud within the Hells Angels during the late 1970s and early 1980s, often referred to as the Angels Civil War. During this period, different factions within the club vied for power, leading to brutal murders and violent confrontations. In one particularly shocking case, a prominent Hells Angels leader in San Francisco, known as Sonny Barger, ordered the assassination of a rival member. The killing led to a wave of retaliations, with bodies piling up on both sides of the conflict. More recently, in 2012, the Hells Angels European chapters were rocked by a power struggle that resulted in several high-profile murders. In Denmark, a prominent Hells Angels leader was shot and killed by a fellow member, sparking a bloody turf war that spilled into neighbouring countries. These internal battles not only highlight the violent nature of the clubs, but also reveal how fragile the bonds of loyalty can be when power is at stake. And betrayal isn't just limited to leadership conflicts. Throughout the years, numerous members of outlaw clubs have turned informants, betraying their brothers in exchange for reduced sentences or protection from law enforcement. This betrayal often leads to more violence, as the clubs seek retribution against those who have broken their code of silence. Public shootouts and high-profile incidents. Outlaw biker culture isn't just about what happens behind closed doors. It often spills into the public, creating some of the most notorious scandals in recent memory. One of the most infamous incidents occurred in 2002 at the Laughlin River Run in Nevada, when a brawl between the Hells Angels and their rivals, the Mongols Motorcycle Club, turned into a deadly shootout. 3 people were killed and dozens were injured as gunfire erupted in a crowded casino, shocking the public and drawing widespread media attention. Another high-profile shootout took place in 2015 in Waco, Texas, during a biker meeting at the Twin Peaks restaurant. Rival clubs, including the Bandidos and the Cossacks, clashed in a violent confrontation that left 9 people dead and more than 20 injured. The incident, which involved firearms, knives and chains, once again thrust outlaw biker gangs into the spotlight, reigniting the debate over their role in organized crime and violence. These public confrontations not only showcase the dangerous rivalry between different clubs, but also serve as stark reminders of the violence that can erupt when these organizations cross paths in public spaces. For many, it's these incidents that define their perception of biker culture, a perception that is reinforced by media portrayals and law enforcement efforts to clamp down on gang activity. Media portrayal and popular culture. The media has played a significant role in shaping the public's view of outlaw biker clubs, often sensationalizing their activities and perpetuating the image of bikers as violent outlaws. Films like Easy Rider and TV shows like Sons of Anarchy have glamorized the rebellious lifestyle of bikers, while documentaries and true crime series have focused on the criminal side of their operations. While these portrayals may be exaggerated for entertainment purposes, they are often rooted in real events, and they reinforce the idea that biker culture is synonymous with lawlessness. This media portrayal has been a double-edged sword for outlaw clubs. On one hand, it has helped recruit new members drawn to the rebellious image, but on the other, it has attracted increased scrutiny from law enforcement. The global expansion and international scandals. What began as a uniquely American phenomenon has now spread across the globe. The Hells Angels, for example, have chapters in more than 50 countries, from Canada and Brazil to Australia and South Africa. With this global expansion has come international controversies, as biker gangs have been implicated in drug trafficking, weapons smuggling, and even human trafficking across borders. In Canada, the Hells Angels have long been involved in a violent turf war with rival clubs, leading to a string of high-profile assassinations and bombings. In Australia, authorities have struggled to control biker gangs' involvement in organised crime, with several chapters linked to major drug operations. And in Europe, countries like Germany and the Netherlands have seen an increase in biker-related violence, prompting some governments to ban the Hells Angels altogether. These international scandals underscore the fact that outlaw biker culture is not just a regional issue, it's a global phenomenon with far-reaching consequences. The complex legacy of biker culture. While outlaw biker clubs like the Hells Angels continue to attract new members and expand their influence, their legacy is one of contradiction. On one hand, they represent freedom, brotherhood, and rebellion against societal norms. On the other hand, they are deeply intertwined with violence, criminal activity, and controversy. As we've seen, the scandals surrounding biker culture aren't just a thing of the past. From drug trafficking and organized crime to public shootouts and internal power struggles, These clubs continue to make headlines for all the wrong reasons. And while not every biker is involved in illegal activities, the actions of a few have forever tainted the reputation of the many. For those who ride in the shadows of these infamous clubs, the road ahead remains fraught with both danger and intrigue. The question is, will these clubs ever shake their dark reputation, or is the allure of the outlaw lifestyle too powerful to resist? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the dark side of biker culture. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Life of Bikers for more eye-opening content. Ride safe, and we'll see you in the next video.